September 28th, see the world's most legendary monsters like you've never seen them before. On vacation.
Didn't I tell you guys we'd have fun?
Yeah, I'm working up a nice swing.
Pack your bags.
Here comes the party!
Check in.
I didn't do that.
And let your scare down.
This is my mistake. What is wrong with you people?
Hotel Transylvania, rated PG.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that wrap up September 2012, September 28th to be exact here. And we're starting off with Hotel Transylvania, which to many people was a big surprise. And, I mean, actually, now that I think about it, this weekend had a couple of big surprises with this and Pitch Perfect, but we'll get to that one later on. But I think of the two, this one's probably the lesser of the surprises, but then again, I'll explain why in just a second here, but we have the story of Adam Sandler, who plays Dracula, who's the owner of Hotel Transylvania, where the world's monsters can take a rest from human civilization. Dracula invites some of the most famous monsters, including Frankenstein's monster, Mummy, a werewolf family, and the Invisible Man, to celebrate the 118th birthday of his daughter Mavis, played by Selena Gomez. The hotel is essentially kind of a protective area for Dracula's daughter, because he has this thing about not wanting to let her go out into the world and all that, even though she wants to. So, kind of a similar story we've seen done to death before. But, it's a way to protect the monsters from the humans in general. Things change, however, when a young human traveler named Jonathan, played by Andy Samberg, comes, and Dracula has to protect Mavis from falling in love with him before it's too late, even though they've kind of sparked. They've zinged, as they called it. Their eyes connect, and that's the thing that's supposed to say that you've just met your one true love, even though they kind of jumped the shark on that with a third film, because apparently you can zing more than once. But yeah, so that's the story here, and you have, like I said, a cast that also includes Andy Samberg, as I mentioned, Kevin James, Fran Drescher, John Lovitz, CeeLo Green, Steve Buscemi, Molly Shannon, David Spade. Solid cast overall in here, and this is a movie that really was something that Adam Sandler desperately needed, because we've taken a look at a lot of his movies over the last couple of years, and a lot of them have been really terrible, but this is not only his best film easily, this film is, without a doubt, one of his best movies. And Sony Pictures Animation, this was a movie that really put them into another echelon here. I mean, they had more hits than misses. Open Season was actually kind of decent. Surf's Up was really good, a very underrated film. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a classic. Arthur Christmas, The Pirates. The Smurfs is only the real mess, but then again, it's better than a lot of the other Smurf movies we've gotten since then, so take that for what you will. 2012 as a whole was not a great year for animated films. I mean, there was a lot of really lackluster ones, but there were some good ones. Madagascar 3, Paranorman, The Pirates, and then we got this movie here, and, it's been a really, really good year for animated films. It's a really good second half of the year for animated films, I should say, because we'll have Frankenweenie next weekend, and then Wreck-It Ralph comes out in November. Ooh, excuse me, I'm sorry. But, yeah, this is a really, really good movie. It's the best animated movie of the year, quite honestly. And it's shocking because you never would have thought that, but then again, when you've got a director like Genndy Tartakovsky, who created some of the greatest animated shows in my youth, Dexter's Laboratory, The Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, I mean, it's not hard to see why, and it's great to see that animation style that we're used to seeing with Genndy Tartakovsky mixed in with the CG animation, and it just blends really well. The comedy is really good. Like, this has a lot of Tex Avery style humor, and it combines it with a lot of smart satirical humor, being very creative with the jokes that are very grating in a lot of kids' films these days, and it actually does work here. I mean, like, it's a movie that really knows what it's doing. The best joke in the movie is when, the climax of the movie is Dracula trying to get John to come back to the castle, to the hotel, and, he's on an airplane, he flies up there, and they're showing a little bit of Twilight, and Twilight, thinking My Little Pony for a second there, Dracula goes like, this is how we're represented in this world. Like, even the movie knows that Twilight is fucking terrible. Like, I love that this universe knows that is fucking awful, a fucking awful series, but, that made me laugh my ass off for a long, long time when I first heard it the first time. I was laughing for like a good minute and a half, because that's just such a good joke overall. But, and like I said, the voice work is really good. I mean, Adam Sandler as Dracula surprisingly works really well. He makes that character his own. He's not doing the same character that we're used to seeing him with these loud obnoxious voices like in Jack and Jill or 8 Crazy Nights. But no, this movie really is where you get to see Adam Sandler doing his best stuff. I mean, this, not only that, but also, what was that, trying to remember the Lizard movie he just did recently. What was it, I can't remember the name. It has a generic name, so of course I could remember it. Leo. I mean, this is a guy that really knows what he's doing when it comes to voices in animated form. I mean, there was even a point where if his live-action movies continue to bomb, I would have said just continue doing these animated movies because you're doing a good job at it. You know, Selena Gomez was really good here as Mavis, you know. I mean, she's one of the best things. She really is somebody who really started to show her grace, you know, once she got the chance to star in other things outside of Disney. You know, Monte Carlo was kind of an example, even though that wasn't a great film. I mean, this is a movie where it really does work to her advantages, and that character really does evolve into becoming the real main character of the movies going forward, especially with the third and fourth film. But, you know, you got also strong cast, and also includes Sam Bird, Kevin James, Steve Buscemi. CeeLo Green as the Mummy was really good here. Everybody here is doing a really good job, and what I love about this movie is that it's a very clever movie. It borrows a lot. I mean, they borrow a lot from Monsters Incorporated, and the way the story is played out works really well. I love the fact that there is not a central villain in this movie. It's very rare that you get an animated movie that does not have a villain. Remember, this is before, you know, movies like, you know, I mean, this was before a lot of Disney movies had the surprise villains, which got old really quickly, but it's interesting to have a movie here where you don't have a main villain, and I thought that worked so well, because you don't really need a villain in an animated movie to make a good film. I mean, we've seen it in other movies in a number of different ways overall. Like, even Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs doesn't have a central villain overall, just people who think that they're better than everybody else, like the mayor of the town. But I mean, it pulls it off. The ending was so different than what I'm used to seeing in animated movies. I love the fact that the monsters just get the whole idea of humans all wrong because they've been so stuck in this time period where, you know, every human wants to kill them, but then they go to this small town where they're having a monster festival and they think that there's like a trap or something. But no, there you go. Everybody is really happy to see these monsters. Like, these people do not care that real life monsters exist, and they're more than willing to go along with the ride with it. And I love that they did that. I love the way that they took that route. This is just such a really, really good movie. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. It was a movie that I really admired a lot. This is one of the best animated movies I've seen. I saw it in a long, long time up to that point. It's funny. It's smart. It's silly. It's got great characters, a lot of heart, a great story. Just a really fun movie overall. It's everything you can ask for and then some for a film like this. And for Adam Sandler, it's a return to form to what makes him so great. Hotel Transylvania. It's Halloween time. Look for it out there. If you haven't seen it, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice by missing out on this series in general, because the series overall has been really, really good. And this one definitely is the best of the bunch, easily.
You're probably going to want to get this on camera.
I don't want to do it. Dude, I don't want to do it. Okay, are you ready? Okay, come on, do it. Give me a countdown. I will, I promise.
Are we rolling? I'm going to get the gum. Pull it right out of his mouth.
Wait, why are you running?
I got this one. Sweet.
He's just looking at it.
This is my theory, though, is that it's like a muscle.
Watch this. Dude, holy crap!
That's why I think we're getting stronger, you know?
She has no idea.
Yes, it was the black guy this time.
Thanks for working it out.
There's nothing stopping us.
Where are you going? I'm sorry.
This is so rare, nigga.
How is this guy's problem? Why did you do that? What the hell is wrong with... Was it an accident, Andrew? Andrew?
I'm worried about Andrew.
Listen to me. We can't screw around with this. It's too dangerous. Andrew, it's not a game. Stop this right now.
Just making that sound.
What is that? quickly. All right, dude, we're going inside. Steve, wait up. Matt, look at this. Holy.
Yeah, Alex is basically looking at the camera just like, that's right, bitch. That was me. He's basically like Cartman, like, what up? What up with what up? I got nothing else to lose. Like, anyway, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. I'm sorry for that opening, but welcome to the show. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films that make up February 3rd, 2012. So, what did people go to the box office to see before we saw the big game between the Giants and Patriots on Sunday? Well, we had the first of the big new releases, and that is Chronicle. Presented as found footage from various cameras, you have Dane DeHaan, Michael B. Jordan, and Alex Russell as a group of Seattle friends. I guess Andrew was the one who was doing that. Sorry, but yeah, I got the names mixed up there. But they play these group of Seattle friends who gain power, full superhuman abilities, and use them for mischief and personal gain until one of them, Andrew, begins to use his power for darker purposes. And found footage at this point had been used for mostly horror movies, and not a lot of very good ones, like The Devil Inside we just had recently, Apollo 18. Of course, they were more successful with Cloverfield and Paranormal Activity, and even The Blair Witch back in the day. But here's the one that's taking it to and using it for something very different outside of the horror movie genre. We'll have another one that takes it outside of the horror film genre with Project X coming up within the next month. And does it work outside of the horror genre? I would like to say yes, it does, because not only does it work here, it works really well. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie when it came out. And it's a fun idea, taking a superhero movie with found footage and not using the word superhero once at all. Plus, I like the way that the footage is presented through various cameras. I think that's a nice little touch there. You know, one of the big complaints about the movie that you kept hearing about was the idea that the leading girl character has a camera as well. It's pretty unbelievable. And it's just kind of like, she kind of serves the purpose of providing other camera shots when Andrew isn't on screen. I mean, you see all the different cameras going across these characters throughout the course of the movie. And I like the fact that you like all the actors in here. They do a really good job in their roles. You like all of them. You even like the antagonist of the movie, Andrew. You know, you can understand why he's using his powers for evil. His life sucks. Nobody really likes him. His dad's a fucking dick. His mother's on the brink of death. You're really hoping things are going to turn out for this kid, but at the same time, he's got more than enough good reasons to use his powers for evil. For a movie like this that has a $12 million budget, the visuals look incredible, too. I mean, this isn't like G.I. Joe The Rise of Cobra or X-Men First Class levels of really lackluster visual effects. These look legitimately good. Like, these are like District 9 type of numbers here. And you have a first-time director in Josh Trank, and also a writer who has not written before in feature film form with Max Landis, the son of John Landis. This is their first time working on something like this. And they do a really good job making this look authentic, and it looks really good. I mean, if there's really one complaint I would have about the film, I would say that the climax does go a little bit too long for its own good. They really make it seem like Andrew is invincible against everything. He can levitate cars, he can hurl buses at people, he can use his hands to shoot somebody, and yet the only thing that can stop him is a spear from a statue going through him. I don't know. I just thought there was a much better way you could have ended that in general, but again, that's just a really, really small flaw of a really, really damn good movie. It's a really good film. It works in the way you expect a found footage film to do. It's one of the best found footage movies I've ever seen. This is right up there with Cloverfield, man. This is a strong, strong movie that continues from a very strong year of really solid films that we've gotten in 2012. So far, 2012 has been the complete opposite of 2011.
Oh, hello. I'm Bill Murray. On the set of Moonrise Kingdom, a new film by Wes Anderson. Who's in it? Frances McDormand. She's a police officer in Fargo. Edward Norton. He does a lot of psycho work. He's playing against type. Bruce Willis playing a policeman. Typecast, I guess. Jason Schwartzman's in the film. Oh, Tilda Swinton's in this one, too. She's tall. She's Scottish. She's pretty. She can do whatever she likes. And here I am, living La Vida Loca. Rated PG-13. Down 20.
Sold. Here's my card. Do what you want with it. I mean, you got Bill Murray telling you to go see this movie. How can you not trust Bill Murray with a movie like this? Moonrise Kingdom. It's largely set on the fictional island of New Penzance, somewhere off the coast of New England. It tells the story of an orphan boy played by Jarrett Gilman who escapes from a scouting camp to unite with his pen pal and love interest, a girl with excessive tendencies, played by Kara Hayward. Feeling alienated from the group, from the Guardians, and shunned by their peers, the lovers ascend to an isolated beach. Meanwhile, the island's police captain, Bruce Willis, organizes a search party of scouts and family members to locate the runaways. As you see in the trailer, Bill Murray, Frances McDormand, Jason Schwartzman, Tilda Swinton, essentially the Wes Anderson regulars are in this movie, and really, this is about as good of a movie as you can get from Wes Anderson. If you like Wes Anderson films in general, this is definitely the movie that you look forward to. I mean, this is the film that really delivers what you want to see in a Wes Anderson film in general. It's a movie that is very brightly colorful. The casting overall is great. The comedy overall is really good. This is a terrific film. It's a really, really impressively put together film. And I'm trying to multitask here while I'm doing this, which I probably should not do. There we go. I had to stick that card back underneath my pile here, like coins and chips and all that. But back to this movie in general. This is a really good movie. This is probably one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies he's ever made. I mean, it's a movie that is very funny, a great visual style to it, a great cast, really fun comedy all across the board. This is everything you can ask for in a Wes Anderson movie, and then some. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. It's a terrific film. Can't recommend it enough. Not much more to say about this one. Moonrise Kingdom, really, really fantastic film. Ah, yes, the infamous battle to figure out what the hell they were saying in the background there. Was it Dishy, Dishy, Basara, Basara? We didn't know for a long period of time. Hell, some people still don't know. It's been, 13 years since this movie's come out? Some people still don't know what it is. But, yeah, if you want to know what it is, Deshi, Deshi, Basara, Basara, which basically means rise up. So with all that said, welcome to Time About the Movies. We are taking a look at the one big new release of July 20th, 2012, and that's, of course, The Dark Knight Rises. And it's big for several reasons. Some of them are good, some of them are extremely controversial, some of them, one of them in particular led to a massive shooting that happened, but we'll touch in on all of that as we go along here. Let's talk about the movie first, because there's a lot to delve into with this particular film. You know, this movie, DC's movie run had been kind of on a little bit of a lull. They had bad movies like Jonah Hill, Green Lantern, The Losers. They were hoping that once The Dark Knight Rises came out, their big cash cow with Batman, everything was going to come up Millhouse. And while the movie did very well with most critics and audiences, it was a major hit at the box office, it just wasn't on that same successful level as The Dark Knight was. Not to mention, it also didn't help that on the day that this came out, there was a horrific tragedy in Aurora, Colorado, at a movie theater where somebody shot up the theater, killed people, and it essentially affected the box office that particular weekend. The studio didn't even release the estimates for that weekend. That's how big that controversial thing was. That's how big that happened there. It wasn't even a controversy. That's how devastating that tragedy was. That Hollywood basically just said, we're not even going to push the results out there. We're just going to let the weekend pass. Let people get back on track and try to get back to normal, and yeah, that was a pretty big deal back then. That was such a controversial thing that they had the trailer for Gangster Squad on. There's literally a scene in the movie where you have these gangsters shooting up a movie theater in the trailer, and Warner Bros. Basically said, "You got to take that shit out, man. You got to take that out. And you have to re-edit it. We have to hold this movie off and re-edit it, and it would come out later on to start the year off, But again, we'll get to that once we get to Gangster Squad in 2013. Let's actually talk about the movie itself. So the film takes place about 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, and introduces Catwoman and Bane as the villains. And despite his tarnished reputation after the events of The Dark Knight, in which he took the rap for the crimes of Harvey Dent, Batman, once again played by Christian Bale, feels compelled to intervene to assess the city as police force, which is struggling to cope with Bane, played by Tom Hardy, and his plans to destroy the city, with the assistance of Catwoman, played by Anne Hathaway. This was a landmark movie for me, because it was the first movie where I let all the hype and anticipation when it first came out skip past me, and I could just enjoy the movie for what it was, and also marked the first time I decided I only had one hope for a sequel. This was the first time I ever thought about this with a film, because I've been so burned by some other sequels in the past, but, my first thought was, just be as good as the previous film. If it's as good as the previous film, I'll give them points. If it's better, I'll give them points for that. If it's bad, I'll say it's bad. That was a pretty big deal for me back there when I was trying to hone my reviewing craft in general. And so with that, how did I feel about the film in general? Well, let me start out by apologizing to Christopher Nolan, the cast of the film, and the rest of the people behind the product when I said The Dark Knight should be the last Batman film, because honestly, son of a bitch did it. He really did it. He made an incredible trilogy off of these films that's on the level of Toy Story, The Lord of the Rings, even The Godfather. You managed to put together an amazing trilogy that tells a really great story from beginning to end. You tied up all the loose ends and gave us a very satisfying conclusion. I think this is a really good movie. I think it's not quite as good as The Dark Knight, but it's still a really good film overall. I mean, let's get to the problems I have, because I do have some problems with the film in general. First off, the pacing, I don't think it's as strong as the previous films are. You know, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight knew when to stop scenes when they needed to and kept the story going. Here, you can tell the pacing starts to have scenes continue long after they should have stopped. Like, the story really doesn't move at the quick enough pace that the other two films did. It kind of reminded me somewhat of the other sequel that Warner Brothers did in the last year, which was Happy Feet 2. Like, I'm not even kidding. You have a community of people trapped by something. In Happy Feet 2, it was the polar ice caps melting, and in here, it's Bane and his crew destroying all the bridges in town, and the rest of both films is just spent trying to get people out of this disaster area or trying to survive. Like, what does that say when you're lifting plot elements from, of all things, Happy Feet 2? I mean, that was something that really took me off. Second, I thought there were too many new characters in this. I'm not talking about Bane or Catwoman, but all the other new people in here kind of felt like they were forced in there because they had worked with Christopher Nolan in the past, specifically on Inception. In fact, the whole movie in general has kind of that Inception vibe to it. You know, you saw it in the trailer there with the Batman logo and the buildings crumbling down and all that, but I thought I had way too many people in here just for the hell of it. Like, I couldn't tell who was going to die towards the end of it with some of them, and I was also wondering, why didn't they just bring back why'd they bring back Cillian Murphy again? Like, what was the point of him being involved in this movie? Like, in the last film, there was no reason for him to come back whatsoever, but here he's just kind of thrown in there as like a sentencer, and that's about it. Like, he's there for no particular reason except to just be a guy who sentences people to prison or death or something like that, but it's just kind of like, what are we even doing here? There is also a point in the movie where Bane reveals the commissioner's letters that he got about the story about Harvey Dent, and revealing that Batman actually saved Gordon and his family from the evil Dent, who threatened to kill them as revenge for what happened to Rachel in The Dark Knight. A good idea, but it wasn't as well thought out as I thought it could have been. I mean, it should have been more built up of what they gave us. Also, there's a reveal to Marion Cotillard, who she plays in the movie, and all I can think to myself is, we're doing the villain thing again with her. I mean, she wasn't that great of a villain in Inception. I like this actress overall, but man, when she plays a villain, she just isn't it, man. Like, this movie, that's one of the big things that really took me off guard with this movie, and how much I really didn't like it, like parts of it. Like, I hated Cotillard's performance in this, in Inception, because she's not good playing a villain. I mean, she's a great actress, but she can't play villain roles. Like, she just can't, and when they reveal that she's in on the whole thing, my literal first thought was, oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, if I could figure that out beforehand, then we clearly got a problem here. And I'm sorry, like I said, I like Marion Cotillard. I think she's a terrific actress. She should not be playing villain roles anymore, because, man, this is another one, like in Inception, where she just misses the mark completely. She's not threatening whatsoever, and it felt like they forced her in there because we have to throw in some more twists in there to keep the audience invested. And I'm sorry, that's a failure on their part there. So yeah, those are my complaints about the film, but I do have a lot of good stuff about it. I like the cast overall that they do have. Christian Bale, I thought, gave his best overall performance as Batman in here. They did a good job of giving him a chance to, like, you know, evolve as the character, and what eventually happens leads into sort of a retread of Batman Begins. Like, it's nowhere like what they did with Andrew Garfield recently in The Amazing Spider-Man, where they pretty much took the origin story and redid it. They actually added new twists and turns with it. You know, Tom Hardy was great as Bane. Like, he's not the insane, crazy person that the Joker is, but when he's the kind of enemy who's scary quiet, that works really well. Like, he's not raising his voice unless he needs to, and when he does, you can't help but be scared of this guy. You can easily understand him, too, unlike what other people were saying. Like, there was this whole controversy about whether or not people could understand this guy, and really, you had no trouble hearing of him whatsoever. I mean, I was lucky enough to hear him for the first time when I did the bit as the extra in The Dark Knight Rises, which I'll get into that a little bit later on here. I'll show you that part in just a second, but yeah, I had no problems with him whatsoever as that. Well, I don't think he was anywhere near the level of Heath Ledger's Joker. He made that character all his own and made Tom Hardy the badass that he really is, because Tom Hardy is a badass actor, no question about it. I thought Anne Hathaway was very good as Catwoman. Like with Tom Hardy, she makes that character Catwoman her own. And, you know, she's got that great mix of being the good guy and the bad guy. And Hathaway, at that point, was really the best Catwoman we had seen up until Zoe Kravitz did it later on in The Batman in 2022. I thought Michael Caine was also really good in this, too. Even though he doesn't have as many scenes like everybody else does, the little bits he's in, he knocks it out of the park. And, yeah, it would have been nice to see more of him in this, but for what they were trying to go with here, I bought into it, and I thought it worked very well. Of course, Gary Oldman's really good in here. You got Joseph Gordon-Levitt doing a good job in this role as the new guy they bring in here, who basically ends up becoming they were kind of setting him up to be kind of like the Dick Grayson of the movie in general. But Morgan Freeman's pretty good in here. Even Liam Neeson's got a good cameo in this as well. The action was at its best. At about 1/3 of the film, the action picks up big time. There were even points where I could feel my heart pounding, particularly that football scene, which I'll touch more on that in just a second. Not just because I was there, but the way it's presented, the way the music is playing, the way the build-up is building, like, that's a good build-up to what happens in that football stadium. And the climax overall is really good. There's just so much in the second and third acts of this that just takes your breath away. You can't take your eyes off of it. Every scene where Batman is riding the Batplane, it's amazing to watch. Hans Zimmer, I think, does a great job with the score once again. He's got a lot of the same elements bringing into the first two films, with a nice share of quiet music played to haunting effects. It's really well done. And I'll give him credit to taking the huge risk with Batman. There's that great sequence where Batman gets his back broken by Bane. I mean, it's not phoned in whatsoever. It feels legitimately real. Like, you do feel like this guy has been going through it all and seeing it all and going through it all, and it just works, man. It just works on so many levels. Like, it never felt like it was brought in there just for the fan base. No, they did it for a purpose. It works to a T. I never thought there'd be a darker, grittier film than Dark Knight, but this one surprisingly does. And again, the final climax is friggin' amazing. It was action-packed. It had a lot of great twists and turns to it. At this point, nothing and no one is safe. You don't know who's going to make it. You don't know what the outcome is going to be, what Gotham will be like at the end. The last 10 minutes alone nailed everything. And it was one of the more emotional moments of the movie. I actually started crying when I first saw this movie the first time, knowing that this was really the end of this universe that Nolan had given us. I mean, Commissioner Gordon finds out that Batman has helped him out for years. He's actually the same kid whose parents were murdered by Joe Chill. And I thought they did a good job of showing that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to become Robin, and they gave all the main characters closure. Yeah, it's not as good as The Dark Knight, but it's a perfect ending to one of the greatest trilogies in motion picture history. My congratulations to everyone who made this movie. I thought they did a fantastic job. Despite its flaws, it's still one of the best Batman movies ever. I mean, it's still one of the best DC movies ever. It's one of Christopher Nolan's, another movie that gives that great track record for Christopher Nolan as a whole. I'm not going to say it's his best movie overall, because the guy has made so much better than this, but, I mean, the guy's practically perfect no matter what he does, but with the end of this franchise, you really were expecting to see, I was really waiting to see what was going to happen next. What were they going to do with Batman next? And, unfortunately, what they did next with The Dark Knight was, not the best overall, but, we'll save that when Zack Snyder begins his DC Snyderverse, whatever you want to call it, next year, but,
You were made to be ruled. In the end, it will be every man for himself.
What do we do?
We get ready. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people. So when we needed them, they could fight the battles that we never could. Gentlemen, what are you prepared to do? No offense, but I don't play well with others.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that away. What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. If we can't protect the Earth, we can damn sure will avenge it. Dr. Banner, your work is unparalleled, and I'm a huge fan of the way you lose control and turn into an enormous green rage monster. Hey.
Seems legitimate. Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today, we are taking a look at the 2 movies of May 4, 2012. And, of course, these are the films that kick off the 2012 summer movie season. A season that, like as per usual, has a number of highly anticipated blockbusters, with 2 of the big ones being The Dark Knight Rises, which comes out later in the year. And, of course, we have Marvel's The Avengers. And I knew it all along. Yeah, so before anybody says, like, oh, what are you talking about? It's just like, it's a joke, folks. As McBain once said, that's the joke. And then someone goes, you suck, McBain. And I bring out my AK-47 and shoot the audience. But anyway, let's talk about The Avengers. 5 movies have been building up to this. Iron Man, Captain America, Iron Man 2, Thor, The Incredible Hulk. You know, we've been waiting for this moment to come for so many years now. We really didn't think we were actually going to get this movie because, yeah, they've been talking about it, but Paramount didn't have the financial... Marvel didn't have the financial... what's the word I want to use here? The financial safety net. Let's just go with that. The financial safety net to actually fund this movie. That wasn't until Disney came in and bought Marvel for $4 billion. Because of that, we have finally gotten to this point where we can finally talk about this movie that had been building up ever since Nick Fury came into Tony Stark's living room and said, "I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, Tony." And here we are. Let's take a look at the plot of this movie. Was it worth it in the end? Let's find out. This film stars the Avengers as Nick Fury, once again played by Samuel L. Jackson, director of the peacekeeping organization S.H.I.E.L.D., recruits Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, and Black Widow to form a team that must stop Thor's brother Loki from enslaving the human race. Of course, Captain America is Chris Evans, Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr., Thor is Chris Hemsworth, Black Widow is Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hiddleston is Loki, of course. New to the series in this movie, you have Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill. You also have Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. But most notably, you have Mark Ruffalo as in the role of the Incredible Hulk, because Edward Norton passed up on the project because of financial reasons and creative differences from the Incredible Hulk. And so Mark Ruffalo came in, and the rest is history. It's the role that he's been playing ever since then. And quite frankly, he's actually really good as the Hulk in the MCU. And like I said, in the last 5 movies, we've been building this up and leading to this. And there was little doubt that this would be terrible, but there was still that thought that the build-up wouldn't work, as something like this had never been done before up to this point. And everyone thought this was going to be kind of there was the hope of excitement, but there was also kind of the dread that this could let a lot of people down and be considered a disappointment. But when we saw the movie, we came to the realization that Joss Whedon and Kevin Feige and everybody involved in this knew what they were doing, because this was their greatest achievement that Marvel had done at that point. I mean, this was easily the best movie they had made at that point in time. I mean, this is exactly how you make not just a great special effects summer blockbuster extravaganza, but also a great special effects extravaganza with everything that made The Dark Knight such a great film. Every character in here gets their chance to shine. The main characters work off each other really well, especially in the end when they're working together to defend off the evil threat of the movie. The chemistry is great. And Joss Whedon, I mean, he wrote the script for this, and he knew what it took to make a good superhero team film, and he made sure that everybody involved knew what they were doing, had great chemistry, and it paid off big time in the end. Everyone in the cast is great, but especially Mark Ruffalo, who is really, really good as the Incredible Hulk. And it's clear no matter who you get to play the Hulk, as long as you have good writing, he'll play out very well. I mean, Edward Norton was a great Hulk because of the writing, and even though the 2003 movie the Hulk film was a bad film, Eric Bana wasn't bad in that movie per se. He was just given a really bad script to work with, honestly, and bad direction from Ang Lee. This is a film that's paced very well, and once that last big climax starts, the pacing really doesn't come to your mind because you're just enjoying the film at this point. You're enjoying all these superheroes you've come to know teaming up and fighting the bad guys off. And yeah, it's an incredible point in the movie where it's just like, the third act is really the high mark of the movie. Everything about it works on every level. The comedy, the fighting, the special effects, the dialogue, everything just works. It's perfectly put together, and you can't really go look at this movie and not think to yourself, wow, we're seeing something that we haven't seen on the big screen before, and it's delivering on everything we could have asked for and then some. Does everything about the movie particularly work? Not exactly. There are a few little nitpicky things that I could say about the movie. For one thing, I kind of thought that Thor entering the movie was kind of not a good way to open him up in there. I mean, he comes in about half hour in, and he just comes in. They don't really give it a clear explanation to why. All they said that was, oh, Odin's magic brought him back there. And I think there could have been a better way to bring him into the movie, because we set everybody else up. We set up Nick Fury, we set up Hawkeye, we set up Loki, we set up Captain America, Black Widow, and all these other people, and yet Thor just comes in and just kind of like, hey, I'm here too. Like, I mean, I also didn't like the way they killed off the character of Coulson in this. It's been long since. I mean, he dies in this movie. That was a big deal back then, but then we find out that he's actually still alive because he's involved in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series, and it was just kind of like, I don't know. Like, it really felt unnecessary. I mean, but then again, Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury's character said in the movie they needed to push. That's the only reason they kind of did it here. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I thought it was kind of weird to kill him off, especially seeing that, he was coming back for that TV show they were doing, and I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think it really felt like they needed to do that in there. But then again, it's only a nitpicky thing. My only other real complaint about the movie is that there really was no reason for the villain to be somebody else but Loki. I mean, Loki's already a great villain as it is. He doesn't really need to be assisted by another villain who barely shows up except for the first scene and then 30-second increments throughout the course of the movie. Loki should have just been the main villain of the movie. I mean, but then again, it is Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, and that's usually a win in anybody's book when you really think about it. But regardless, I really dug the hell out of this movie. It's not just a great special effects bonanza, but it's a great special effects bonanza that's on the level of The Dark Knight. The writing is top-notch, the direction is great, the cast is great, the story is good. Joss Whedon gets it right and proves that you can have explosions and special effects, but you can have great dialogue and great fun all around to go along with it. I mean, this was, at the time, it was my favorite Marvel movie, passing Spider-Man 2. That's how great it was. It was great, old-fashioned fun, exciting action all across the board. At the time, it was Marvel's greatest achievement of filmmaking, but of course we've known that they get better from this point going forward. But at the time, this was really the new norm that was the beginning of the new norm that was going to take place, because they went on this hot streak after this with very few misfires, and we'll get to some of those as we go on, especially the first couple movies after the Avengers, which, needless to say, the two that came out in 2013 were not the strongest ones, but like I said, we'll touch on those in 2013.
Mankind has failed. The asteroid is set to collide with Earth.
Fall showed us how to love.
I regret my entire life.
Dear John showed us how to hope. This film will show us how to live until an asteroid destroys the Earth.
What? What? This is the Titanic. A lot of guns and a lot of potato chips.
Your friend for the end of the world. Rated R. Starts Friday.
So yeah, you can kind of see the first real problems with the marketing for the movie, and that is the fact that they tried to sell it as a Judd Apatow frat pack comedy. This is not that type of a movie, and it's made by people who have not been associated with that type of a comedy before. This is directed by Lorraine Scafaria, who also would later go on to direct Hustlers at the end of the decade. Two really solid films from this director. This is actually her directorial debut. The premise of the movie is that you have Steve Carell and Keira Knightley leading this all-star cast in this film about, the world is coming to an end because an asteroid's about to wipe out all of Earth, and they're reacting in their own unique ways to the announcement that this asteroid is going to hit the Earth. He wants to return to his first love. She just wants to get back to her family, and the unlikely comparisons respective journeys converge the outlooks, if not the worlds, brighten in surprising and hilarious ways. And, this is a movie where it really does show you what Steve Carell's capabilities are of an actor as a whole. I mean, the guy's a great comedic actor, don't get me wrong, but he's never had that real opportunity. He's very rarely at this point in time had an opportunity to show what he could do as a dramatic actor. I've been very impressed with the film choices that he's taken since leaving The Office. He could have gone down the Will Ferrell route, where he just did more comedic roles, but he's been doing more dramedy since he left The Office a year earlier. And that's pretty cool that he stepped out of his norm to become one of the more prolific actors of the time, and he still is very much a likable actor even to this very day. I was really impressed by how much I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I was hoping for something good, but I got way more than I expected from it. And it's a movie that it reminds me a lot of The Big Year from the previous year. A movie that you don't really go into it expecting a whole lot. And again, bad marketing kind of hurt it in the long run. But in the end, when you actually watch the movie, you get a whole lot more out of it than you were expecting. And it turns out to be this incredible film. What makes this work is that the story and plot are very well done and fairly constructed to a T. There's a great mix between comedy and drama, and it fits in the film to make it make sense. No point in the film that feels like it's out of the norm or doesn't feel like it should be there. everything feels authentic in every way, shape, or form. Carell and Keira Knightley are great in this. This is probably their best performance that I've seen from them at that point in time, especially from Carell, who was getting more opportunities to do more dramatic roles. I mean, yeah, he did stuff like Little Miss Sunshine before this, but, you know, this is him taking on kind of a more serious role in general. But this worked very well for him. He has great chemistry with Keira Knightley. The cast overall is really great. You got a lot of, they make a big deal out of the fact that you see Rob Corddry and Patton Oswalt, like they're part of the story. They only show up in about the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then they're gone. Like, the movie features a whole bunch of notable people in here. You see Melanie Linsky from 2.5 Men, Connie Britton from Friday Night Lights, Derek Luke, Martin Sheen, Amy Schumer, one of her early film roles. You get William Peterson, Gillian Jacobs, T.J. Miller, Nancy Carell, Steve Carell's wife, Martin Sheen, like I said before. I mean, this is a really stacked cast of really talented people in here. And the dark comedy elements actually worked really well, as well as the crazy things people were doing. You see people going insane to newscasters saying fuck on national television. You got that scene where they're going to the Frenzies restaurant where everybody's giving up, they're doing like all these sexually suggestive things. There's even a part in this movie near the end where I thought they were going to do a parody of the infamous Bud Dwyer suicide on national television. If you weren't living in Pennsylvania in 1987, this was a pretty big deal, because like Bud Dwyer, like the big thing was he killed himself on national television, but they kind of stepped away from that, which I thought would have been going too far, but I gotta give them credit for almost going there. But part of the reason the movie jumps to that whole other level starts towards the end of the movie. You got this great scene where, where Steve Carell's character Dodge makes amends with his father, played by Martin Sheen. And then you have this montage of the last bit of time everyone has together as Dodge sends Penny to see her dad with the song The Air I Breathe by the Hollies playing in the background. And it's beautifully handled. It's an emotional powerhouse of a scene. It really is one of my favorite scenes in movie history. I mean, the best part about this movie is that it doesn't pull out cop-out bullshit, saying that the world is ending in some other way, or the world, the asteroid's just gonna miss us. No, everything's fine. Everything's gonna be A-okay. No, this is like Deep Impact. That asteroid's going to hit the Earth, and millions of people are going to die. The world is literally coming to an end at the end of the movie. The asteroid hits, the movie is over. It doesn't cop out, and the film ends with the world ending, like I said. That was the deciding factor to whether or not this movie would be good. They didn't pull some bullshit like Swing Vote did, where it's just like, who do you think Kevin Costner chose? You make the decision. No, you're a movie. Make that decision for us. The movie doesn't do that, and it works because of it. I love this movie to death. I have no flaws with it whatsoever. I can't even think of a flaw that's wrong with it. This is a movie that really, really deserves a lot more attention than it deserves. It's such a damn good movie, and I think it needs all the attention now more than ever. It's a fantastic movie, one of the best underrated movies ever made. Seek this one out if you have not seen it. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. See it, check it out. You will not be disappointed by it at all.
We work the toughest division in the LAPD.
They were the city's top guns.
I got him. Try to run. You good, partner? I'm good.
Until one discovery.
Policia! Oh, my God.
Made them the cartel's most wanted.
Got a hit on y'all, man. We're cops. Everybody wants to kill us.
These guys, they operate by a different set of rules.
You're my brother. I would lay down my life.
End of Watch. Rated R. Starts September 21st.
And welcome back to Time About the Movies. On this episode today, we're taking a look at the 5 films that make up September 21st, 2012. And we're beginning, of course, with the first movie that we have here, easily one of the year's best movies, End of Watch. In this film, you have 2 police officers from the LAPD, played by Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena, who uncover evidence of a Mexican drug cartel's human and drug trafficking. As the 2 officers continue investigating further, the cartel places bounties on them. And honestly, I felt like David Ayer kind of peaked too early, because he wrote Training Day, and then a lot of the stuff he did were just kind of, nothing that spectacular, nothing that amazing. Dark Blue, SWAT, Harsh Times, Street Kings. I mean, it felt like he was repeating the same elements he was bringing into Training Day in those films. And in this one definitely feels like a return to form for him. This is probably his best overall movie as a director. I mean, he hardly does any of those tropes that he does in the other movies, and it works because of it. You get a little bit of Training Day here and there, but it's not as noticeable as his other movies, and I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. This was one of the big surprises that I saw coming nowhere. I mean, this movie There's just so much about this film that works so well. I love the chemistry between Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena as these two cops. I like the fact that they work well off each other. You can definitely tell that these two are best friends, and they've known each other for a long time, and they do really care about each other. I love the drug lord in this movie, who's a woman in this. Like, she's actually harsh. She's actually scary. She does not give a fuck at all, and she has no remorse whatsoever. Like, let me put it this way. I got more fear from her. You have the thunder out there. There's a storm right now. But I got more fear from watching her in this movie than I ever got with Salma Hayek and Savages. That's how good this is. I mean, credit to that actress. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now, but the movie does have a lot of good tension. No scenes in this feel predictable. It really did feel like something bad could happen to these two cops. And at some point towards the end of the movie, it certainly does that. Like, I'm glad that they don't literally cop out of this and give the film an overall happy ending and everyone's singing Kumbaya and, you know, saying, come on, people now smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. No, that does not happen in this movie. No, it ends on somewhat of a sour note. And yeah, it's pretty intense what they do here. And if there's any flawed elements to the film, I will say the found footage element in here isn't that strong. I mean, yeah, they have body cams on them. Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena do. That's fine. But when you have a majority of people in town having cameras recording footage for no reason, like, that seemed to be too much for me. Like, I get it. You did it in Chronicle. You did it in Project X. But there's an excuse in those movies. Here, there's literally no reason to be doing this type of stuff here. I also thought the tacked on scene at the end, while it was funny, really did kind of seem unnecessary. The movie ends on this dark note, and then they decide, okay, let's just go ahead and just do this funny little gag here at the end of the movie here. I mean, we don't have a reason why we're going to do it, but it's supposed to take place the day of the shooting of the film, and it's the shooting of what happens in the film, and it's just like, this scene probably could have been shown earlier in the movie, because it takes a scene that it takes a movie that ends on the sourest note possible, and then adds this extra scene as like a way to be like, okay, everybody, here, I know things are rough right now, but look at this funny scene with these two cops. It's just like, I don't know. To me, I thought that was doing it a bit too much. But despite all of that, I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. This is a movie that really was one of the big surprises for me. I was impressed by what I saw from it. I think it's one of the best movies of the year. Easily the best thing David Ayer has ever worked on since Training Day. It's a masterpiece, man. It's a great, great film. I can't recommend this one enough. End of watch. Seek this movie out if you haven't seen it. So.
Our embassy has been seized.
6 hostages got out. I need you to help me make a fake movie. You need a script. You need a producer. I fly into Tehran. We all fly out together as a film crew. Right. You have 72 hours to get them out. This is what I do, and I've never left anyone behind. I know who they are. It's over, Tony. Let's go make a movie. Argo, rated R.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 5 films that make up October 12, 2012. And we start off, of course, with the Best Picture winner of the year, and that is, of course, Argo. In 1979, the American embassy in Iran was invaded by Iranian revolutionaries, and several Americans are taken hostage. However, 6 managed to escape the official residence of the Canadian ambassador, and the CIA is eventually ordered to get them out of the country. With few options, exfiltration expert Tony Mendez, played by Ben Affleck, devises a daring plan to create a phony Canadian film project looking to shoot in Iran and smuggle the Americans out as its production crew. With the help of some trusted Hollywood contacts, Mendez creates the ruse and proceeds to Iran as its associate producer. However, time is running out with the Iranian security forces closing in on the truth, while both his charges and the White House have grave doubts about the operation themselves. So, kind of imagine a serious version of something like a Wag the Dog, kind of. I mean, pretty much the same type of movie here, except this time around they're not making a movie so they can cover up a big thing that was going on with the president. They're doing this to save these hostages. And you really can't talk about this movie without talking about Ben Affleck, who had one of the greatest comeback stories in film history. Here's a guy that wins an Oscar for co-writing Good Will Hunting, but his career never really took off after that point, leading to such big bombs like Geely and Jersey Girl, Paycheck, Surviving Christmas. After bombs like that, he takes a break from Hollywood. Then he gets to do something like a Hollywoodland, where he gets to return to some form. And then he goes on to become one of Hollywood's best directors with Gone Baby Gone, and then, as I mentioned before, The Town. I mean, when you talk about great comeback stories, Ben is definitely somebody who has had one of those great comeback stories. And Argo, I think, is definitely a film that is continuing to show the growth of this guy as the director as a whole. I mean, this movie knocks it out of the park big time. This is such a really good movie, and it shows that, once again, Ben Affleck is a great actor. He's surrounded by a really good cast that includes Bryan Cranston, John Goodman, Alan Arkin, who are all really good in here. The hostages are really good, too. One of them played by Carrie Bishy, who you might recognize from the last season of Scrubs, and let's just say she came a long way from that. She actually gave one of the best performance out of all the people who are playing the hostages in here, and really she's come a long way since Scrubs and all that. But this really is one of the best movies I've seen all year. It's a taut and thrilling action movie with a lot of tension, a lot of good acting from all the major actors. They do a really good job of capturing the time period of the late 70s, early 80s, from clothing style to just how different things would look like back then. The final climax, I think, is good, but it does feel a little bit anticlimactic again. You kind of expect something a little bit bigger to happen, but nevertheless, it's a really satisfying film overall. This is definitely one of the year's best movies, easily. I'm glad that it won Best Picture that year, even though I would have liked Silver Linings Playbook to win that. We'll get to that in a couple of months or so, but it's still my favorite movie. It's still one of my favorite films of the year. I mean, it's a movie that really is very much well done. It's a smartly written movie, well acted, overall tension-filled, great movie. One of the year's best films, easily. So,
When somebody's good, it comes to my attention. From Steven Soderbergh, the director of Traffic, Ocean's 11, and Contagion.
I have an assignment. Starting when?
The CIA trained her. So why did they betray her?
All right, we'll be here, right?
The story will be that she's gone rogue. Should I be nervous?
I'll let you know.
Haywire. Rated R, January 20th.
needless to say, this is definitely a much better Steven Soderbergh movie than Contagion was. At least in this person's opinion. But beautiful freelance covert operative Mallory Kane, played by Gina Carano, who back then was an MMA fighter, is hired out by her handler to various global entities to perform jobs which governments can't authorize and heads of state would rather not know about. After a mission to rescue a hostage in Barcelona, Mallory is quickly dispatched on another mission to Dublin. When the operation goes awry and Mallory finds she's been double-crossed, she needs to use all of her skills, tricks, and abilities to escape an international manhunt, make it back to the United States, protect her family, and exact revenge on those that betrayed her. You have a great supporting cast that also includes Michael Douglas, Antonio Banderas, which, by the way, good job of spoiling the ending in that clip with Antonio Banderas in the trailers. No, seriously. That's literally how the movie ends. She shows up at his apartment, and you think and it looks like he's going to get killed, and then the movie ends. So, spoiler alert, sorry. Ewan McGregor, Michael Fassbender, Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum's going to have a really good year in 2012 with a couple of big movies. And Bill Paxton. And I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's a really solid action film with a lot of great action sequences that don't have to rely on the big explosions or overhyped special effects to be entertaining. This feels like an action film straight out of the 60s or 70s, made for modern times. I mean, you don't get music during the action sequences, which I think is very interesting and unique to do. It makes the action feel more realistic than it should. And Gina Carano does a pretty good job in her acting debut. However, her voice was altered for this film, so I can't really say that much about her acting in the movie. But even if the voice was altered, which it was, yeah, but she's fine in this. Her fighting style does work very well here, and of course before that she was known for not only being an MMA fighter, but also being Crush in the remake of American Gladiators, which, of course, we don't know her for that now. We know that her career has taken a radically different turn after this, but the rest of the cast overall is really good, especially with Ewan McGregor. I think delivering a pretty good rare bad guy role for him. It's probably the first one he's ever done, if I'm not mistaken. And, like I said, but there is one thing that I will say that's kind of bad about him in this, is that it's Channing Tatum. And Channing Tatum has gone on to prove how good of an actor he really is, but back then it was hard for me to buy him as a badass. I mean, G.I. Joe, that was fine because the film was having fun with itself, but this is supposed to be a more serious film, and this movie in particular really didn't do it for him. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, bad action actor, but back then it was really hard to buy him as this badass at first. But then again, a couple months later, 21 Jump Street comes out, and then following that, Magic Mike comes out. So my thoughts on him quickly changed as the year went on, but needless to say. But it really was an early candidate for one of the year's best movies. I think it's a smartly written, smartly paced movie, and it did a better job than movies that have come up before this, like Salt and Hannah did. And, you know, Steven Soderbergh, this is definitely his strongest movie he did since The Informant. I mean, this is a really good movie. It shows what his capabilities of as a director, doing multiple movies a year. And he knocks it out of the park with this. It's a really good movie. It's a very underrated film. I mean, even though you may have your feelings about Gina Carano nowadays, this is definitely worth checking out to see what she can do early on in her career. I think it's well worth a watch, well worth checking out. Haywire, seek it out.
What are you going to do with yourself?
Getting shrimp, getting really fit for Mickey.
Patrick, she left. You've never met anyone
You're so bad. What's this I hear about you just getting out? The loony bin!
like that. He's never met anyone.
Hey, Tiffany. This is Pat. You look nice.
Thank you.
I'm not flirting with you.
I didn't think you were.
Like Tiffany.
Look, I think you're really pretty. I'm married, okay?
So am I.
No, that's confusing. He's dead. Wait, what's happening?
From David O. Russell, director of The Fighter.
What the hell?
I just want us to be friends. So is this the girl you wrote about? She's fine.
She is my friend with an F.
A capital F.
For friend.
Are you taking the proper dosage of your medication? Taking a little bit too many or something? Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, and Chris Tucker.
Let me tell you, if life reaches out at a moment like this, it's a sin people reach back.
In the movie Entertainment Weekly calls the best movie I've seen this year.
Wait, what's this?
Well, I thought you were doing
Oh,
it.
I thought you were doing it.
Silver Linings Playbook. Rated R.
So in Silver Linings Playbook, you have Bradley Cooper, who is coming out of a mental institution stay, and he's a former teacher who moves back in with his parents, played by Robert De Niro and Jackie Weaver. They're trying to reconcile with his ex-wife, but things get more challenging when Pat meets Tiffany, played by Jennifer Lawrence, a mysterious girl with problems of her own. And I saw this movie after I had done my best of the year list for 2012, because Argo was at the top of my, I think it's Argo and Haywire were both at the top of my list when I did my original list. So this is one of those movies I had to see after the movie had been out in theaters for a couple months. It was getting a wide release for awards consideration, and the worst part about doing your top 10 list when the year's coming to an end is that you miss out on so many of these Oscar contenders, because every once in a while you'll get a really great movie out of it, and you'll immediately regret the decision to not put it in there. That happened last year with Anora, which I would have replaced Late Night with the Devil, which I still really enjoyed that movie, but I would have replaced that with Anora, because I saw that at the end after the year had ended. But this is definitely one of those movies where I really, really found myself enjoying the hell out of this movie. This is one of the best romantic comedies I have ever seen in my entire life. This is a romantic comedy that doesn't play by the books. It doesn't play down to the lowest common denominator. It doesn't resort to pathetic attempts to get a laugh out of you. It's a genuine, real-life romantic comedy that adds elements of drama to it, and it's played in such a unique and well-done fashion. I mean, this is a tour de force by David O. Russell and everybody involved in here. Bradley Cooper is great. Robert De Niro playing his father, who's also an Eagles fanatic, and he uses them as the basis of trying to get Bradley Cooper's life together. And you know, I feel like a lot of people can be in that guy's situation. I mean, I feel like that with the Steelers sometimes. Like every move that they make, every move that I make in my life is like. It's weird, because it's like everything that happens in life has to have something involved with the Steelers with it. That's kind of how I feel about the whole thing in general. But, you know, Jackie Weaver's great in here. Chris Tucker, you know, it's good to see Chris Tucker back in a role that actually really does show his true potential as an actor. In fact, I think this might actually be the first time I've ever seen him in a more serious role before. I mean, yeah, we know him from stuff like Friday and Rush Hour and The Fifth Element, where he's like the wacky guy, you know, in The Fifth Element he's doing the bzz, bzz, like that crazy thing, that crazy motif of his, but this is probably the most restrained performance I've ever seen him, and this might actually be the first time I've ever seen him in a serious role. I'd have to double check on that, but let's be honest, the real highlight of this movie, and the reason why I fell in love with this woman right from the get-go, Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, this is a movie where she's incredible. She looks good. She looks really good, and she's not really, like, dolled up or anything. I mean, she's not like Paula Patton in Ghost Protocol. She looks like a beautiful, average-looking woman, like a woman you would see in real life. And I knew she was a good actress when I saw her in The Hunger Games earlier in the year, but here's a movie where you really see the true potential of this actress from just being, and she really does shine in this movie and moves from just being a good actress to becoming a great one. And in this one, she really has amazing chemistry with Bradley Cooper. It's one of the best chemistries you will ever see in a romantic comedy. And It really is the best thing about the movie. She really is the one character in this movie that you really get behind more than Bradley Cooper. I mean, it feels authentic. It feels real. It's no wonder she nailed the Best Actress Oscar. I mean, I really couldn't have seen anybody else topping what she did here. She knocked it out of the park. She's the one thing that I always take away from this movie as great. I mean, this whole movie is great overall. This is one of the best romantic comedies I've ever seen. Great heart, great performances, great actors all across the board. It never feels like it's going for the typical romantic comedy cliches. It is a legitimately great film. One of the great films I've ever seen in my entire life. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the hell out of it. If you really need me to delve into it more, there's the link to the video in the corner, so go check that out. But Silver Linings Playbook, masterpiece. Masterpiece of a film.
That's all I have a 30-year program to the ground. Agents, assets, all of it. You think Jason Bourne was the whole story? There's a lot more going on here.
Who the hell is he? Let's narrow it close.
See what it is? It's an exit through that door. It's going to like the sound.
I thought they were dead.
Yeah, he's supposed to be dead.
You've had alterations made to 2 different chromosomes in your body. Increase in muscle efficiency, sensory function. We have never seen evaluations like this.
Not just a science project, huh?
Find him fast and kill him.
Take Ethan, everything. We both did. Should have left me alone. Okay? Let's go. The Bourne Legacy. Rated PG-13. Starts August 10th.
Okay, I make it seem like this is a bad week for movies. It really is not. There are going to be some good movies here, but we have to start with some real stinkers, like our first film here. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 5 films that make up August 10th, 2012. We're starting off on a sour note here with The Bourne Legacy, which on paper doesn't sound like a bad idea. You've got Jeremy Renner, who's a rising young action star, starring in the Avengers this past summer. He was also in The Town. He was also in The Hurt Locker. So it's not a bad selection for him to be in. Yeah, the cast also includes Rachel Weisz and Edward Norton joining the crew here. It's directed by Tony Gilroy, who wrote some of the Bourne movies. So it's really not that. It should not be that bad of a movie, but then you have to see the film and realize that, oh shit, man, can Matt Damon come back sooner rather than later, please? And can we get Paul Greengrass back too? Because, my God, what a disaster this was. You have Aaron Cross, played by Jeremy Renner, who's a new hero, experiencing life-or-death stakes that have been triggered by previous events and the need of an assistance of a doctor, played by Rachel Weisz, to retrieve the pills he needs to stay alive. So, essentially, it's basically the Curse of the Pink Panther of this series, where they bring in somebody new to replace the old person, except instead of, Matt Damon being dead, like Peter Sellers was in those movies, he's still very much alive, and they just decided not to bring him back for this one for some reason. But, yeah, the Bourne movies have been known to be action-packed all the way around and just so much fun to watch. This is the one where they really drop the fan. This is a bad movie, man. And I'll start off with the good stuff first, because there is a lot of bad things about this film. For one thing, Jeremy Renner's pretty good in here. He's the one thing that's carrying this together. He's not the problem with the movie. He's got a lot of charisma on screen. He doesn't overplay his role here. He fits this role very well. The best parts of this movie is when he's in Alaska. He's fighting off against wolves, kind of like The Grey earlier in the year. And, there's parts where Renner has to fight off against these wolves, much like how Liam Neeson had to fight them off. I mean, and that's about it, man. Everything else about this movie was so bad. First off, Rachel Weisz's character. I love Rachel Weisz, don't get me wrong, but I don't know what the hell they were thinking. She was so fucking annoying in this movie. She's basically this film's equivalent of Kate Capshaw's character from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. What's her name? I can't figure it out, damn it. Willie Scott. I knew it was that name. I just couldn't get it into my head when I needed it to be there. But, yeah, she's basically this version's Willie Scott. She's such an annoying character in this movie. She's the exact opposite of people like Franca Potente or Julia Stiles or Joan Allen, who is in this movie and they write her as this annoying, whiny character who never shuts the hell up. She is one of the most annoying female characters I have ever seen in the movie. Plus, she keeps making one dumbass decision after another that make people want to chase her more. And, like, you hate her even more because she's the one that's literally alerting them that, Jeremy Renner's there. It's just kind of like, it makes no sense whatsoever why they made her so annoying in here. Second, you know how the Bourne movies don't really explain how something happens, but then they give you kind of like little teases and spoilers so that you can figure it out before they reveal it at the end? This movie doesn't do that. 75% of what happens in this movie is so phoned in, and they're never explain why it's happening. It's just, it's happening because, hey, we gotta do it because it's something that just needs to be here so we can make a movie out of it. Like, for example, why is the Doctor shooting up all the people in the lab for? They explain that Edward Norton's character in this movie kind of brainwashed him to do so, but we never get a reason for it. Like, what good does that do except remind people of what just happened 2 weeks ago in Aurora, Colorado? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, why do the CIA agents need to kill Rachel Weisz's character? She even tells the CIA agents she has no idea what the hell's going on here. And you believe her, but at the same time, they're just like, no, we gotta do it because we gotta move the story along here. It makes no sense. Who's Larks 03 that they bring in to kill the two in the final act? We never hear anything about them beforehand. And it's like they brought him in here just to have this cool-looking climax, which doesn't even happen at the end. He gets taken out by a pillar so bad and so poorly put together, it's almost a comedy how this guy gets killed. And we never hear from him again. Like, there's hardly any action in this movie. There's only 2 sequences where there's action. One in the beginning with Jeremy Renner in Alaska, and then one at the end. And so the smartly played out action sequences that we saw in the early films in the series have been pushed off to the side for a typical run-of-the-mill action film that has no action whatsoever. And the worst part about this movie is that there is no resolution to anything. Absolutely none. We just wasted 2 hours of our lives waiting for something to happen in this movie, and then it just tells you, nope, sorry, that's all, folks, we're done here. It's just like, I cannot stand movies with abrupt endings that have no resolution. All that does is just make you admit to your audience, we just wasted 2 hours of your life, but thanks for your money. And for a Bourne movie to do that, that is unacceptable. That is absolutely 100% unacceptable. And that's the point where I was just like, oh, go fuck yourself, movie. This movie is an unbelievable disaster. Jeremy Renner's the one thing who's holding it together somewhat, but everything else about this movie is terrible. This isn't even a Bourne movie. This is a movie that another studio looks at and sees the success of the Bourne films and says, we want to make our own Bourne movie. So let's go grab another book series based off of this character, and let's see what happens if we do it our own way. But no, this is Universal that's doing this, folks. Like, this movie is bad. I mean, the smartly written and cleverly done action sequences in the other movies and everything that was smart in the writing process in those films, that's gone. Universal did that so they can just make a quick buck with a rising young star, and they didn't care about you, the audience. They only cared about making the cold, hard cash. And you all bought into it? Well, technically, no, you didn't, because this thing kind of bombed pretty hard at the box office to the point where they said, Matt, Paul, I know we were shit to you before, but, hey, you mind coming back and doing another Jason Bourne movie? And sure enough, 4 years later, they came back, and they got the series back on track with that film. But this is about as bad as Amazing Spider-Man was in the story department, in the writing, in the action. It's a bad movie. I expected a whole lot better, but this is unacceptable, man. 100% unacceptable.
On December 15th, 2011, hundreds of people gathered at a church in Pasadena, California, for an exclusive screening of the movie, The Devil Inside.
I believe my mother is possessed. Your daughter.
Sorry about that. I just watched the Steelers game end, and yeah, of course I felt so angry that I needed to punch something. But then again, that trailer didn't do any favors either. Okay, I'm lying to you. It's been a couple of hours since that Steelers game, and yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, Steelers embarrassing losing to the Seahawks. Yeah, you'd be mad too if you were a Steelers fan that you want to punch your phone right now. But no, that is not why I punched my phone. I punched my phone because of that obnoxious bitch in this fucking movie. But anyway, on that positive note, welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the films of January 6, 2012. Only one film, but it's also our 2011 leftover show. We start off a brand new year of movies, and hopefully it'll be a much better start than 2011 was. So let's just go ahead and get into this first big new release of 2012, and that is, of course, The Devil Inside. This was, of course, the big surprise success that came out of nowhere. It only cost $1 million to make. It was a massive hit at the box office, and really wasn't that much of a shocker because the movie only cost $1 million to make, and ever since then, it's been panned by everybody alike. So it had one great weekend, and then as soon as everyone went to go see it, everybody completely forgot about it, and it's kind of hard not to see why. It follows a woman becoming involved in a series of exorcisms during her quest to determine what happened to her mother, a woman who murdered 3 people as a result of being possessed by a demon. And although marketed as being based on true events, the story is entirely fictional, just like this whole marketing campaign was entirely fictional. You're going to tell me that any church in Los Angeles, but you're going to tell me a church is going to allow all these people to come into their church to watch a movie that condemns the church for these exorcisms and all that. Like, does that sound like something that any church out there, I don't care if it's in Los Angeles, any church out there, do you really think somebody would go to that trouble and do that? Like, Paramount must have delivered a dump trunk full of money to that church to allow that to happen. Because I'm sorry, you can't convince me that any of this is real. Not the movie itself. And even if it was real, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. This is one of the worst horror films you'll ever see in your life, because this movie doesn't answer any of the questions it's trying to give you answers to. Like, it doesn't answer any of those questions. You want to know how you figure out all these answers? Well, you go straight to the website that's available for it. I'm not even joking. The movie literally ends with a quote that says, "Go to this website to find out more information." Oh, and by the way, that website no longer exists anymore. That website was gone after a year after this movie came out. They didn't even wait a full year to keep that on there. This website is on every other version of this movie, whether it's on Blu-ray, DVD, television, streaming. It's there. So not only are you telling people to go to this website that doesn't exist anymore, you're basically saying that this entire experience was a complete waste of your time, but thanks for your money. That's literally what this movie is. There's nothing about this movie that's terrifying. There's nothing about this movie that's interesting or engaging. Nothing about this movie makes any goddamn sense whatsoever. It's not scary. It's not thrilling. It's a complete waste of your time. It's insulting your intelligence. It's a bad movie. It's a really, really bad film. I don't think I need to say anything more about that. The Devil Inside. Just, if I could punch this again. In fact, I'm going to do just that. And I think I completely missed. But you get the point. But
Behold, the end of the world.
Prepare for what? Oblivion.
Wrath of the Titans. Experience it in IMAX 3D March 30th.
oh yeah, it's a bad weekend for movies where there's no intro and I barely clean the lens here, but these movies don't really deserve a proper episode of this show. Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 2 films that make up March 30th, 2012, and as I said, this is one of those weeks where all the movies we're going to take a look at, both of the movies we're going to look at, are pretty fucking awful. And let's start off with the first one here, Wrath of the Titans, a sequel to the 2010 remake that nobody really took a lot from, except the fact that it was the first big 3D release after one of the first big 3D releases after Avatar became the success that it was, and it was Warner Brothers saying, "We gotta make a sequel quickly. Who cares if it's entertaining? It's gotta be in 3D. It's gonna look like garbage, but people will come and see it." That's what they thought. No, they did not. Wrath of the Titans takes place a decade after the events of Clash of the Titans, as the gods lose control of the imprisoned Titans thanks to humanity's lack of prayers, which also is draining their immortality, and Perseus is called, this time to rescue his father Zeus, overthrowing the Titans and saving mankind. Sam Worthington is back, as is Ralph Fiennes and Liam Neeson, but did they really need to come back for this? Really? Who was asking for this movie? the first film was not a good movie. I mean, not a lot of people enjoyed it. I actually really hated that movie, and yeah, this movie, they somehow made it even worse. This is the literal definition of a movie that only got made because the first movie was such a success, so they put together a cheap-looking sequel and tried to make it seem like it's supposed to be bigger and more epic, when no, it's not. They make it worse for the story that makes no sense whatsoever, unnecessarily high-budget special effects that look absolutely terrible, and directed by schlock filmmaker himself, Jonathan Liebesman. You know, the guy that gave us the masterpiece that was Battle Los Angeles, and also Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. Like, the problem with him is that he rips off every single action movie ever made, and he does nothing new to be original with his ideas. And there's nothing original in this movie. There's nothing about this film that's worthy. There's nothing about this film that's great. It's just a terrible movie. It's a shitty sequel to a shitty remake that nobody was asking for, and yet somehow they made this movie, and they were going to make another one, but luckily they were smart enough to look at the box office and realize that, yeah, people aren't coming to this shit anymore, so, yeah.
On May 18th, you scared?
I'm scared too.
Dude, send him to the dude.
It's a comedy about what men expect.
You dropped your kid off a changing table?
My kid ate a cigarette.
I picked up the wrong baby from daycare.
What women expect.
Did you get my rack? I'm gonna need evidence that I have.
And what no one expects.
I want the epidural.
No, you said you didn't want it, and you said that would just be the crazy talk. Oh, get me the juice!
What to expect when you're expecting.
Dog, get out of those bushes!
Rated PG-13. In theaters May 18th.
Oh my god, this movie is fucking awful. Oh, this one is a huge mess. I can't believe this was directed by the same guy that did Waking Ned Divine, Everything's Fine, Everybody's Fine, Nanny McPhee. This is the beginning of his downfall as a filmmaker, and holy crap, what a mess this is. The story follows the lives of 5 couples as their lives are turned upside down by the difficulties and surprises of parenthood. The cast includes Cameron Diaz, Jennifer Lopez, Elizabeth Banks, Chase Crawford, Brooklyn Decker again, Ben Falcone, Anna Kendrick, Matthew Morrison, Dennis Quaid, Chris Rock, Rodrigo Santoro. Lots of good people involved in here. It's written by a funny writer, Shauna Cross, who gave us Whip It a couple years ago, a very good movie. This film, oh my god, this is the definition of a movie that is literally fingernails on the chalkboard levels of cringe. It is one of the most unpleasant comedies you will ever see in your entire life. It's obnoxious, it's annoying, the jokes are not funny. This shouldn't be a movie. This should be the comedy that airs on CBS during the block of Monday night comedies they had. This would be sandwiched right in between Two Broke Girls, 2.5 Men, and How I Met Your Mother as that last show that CBS is trying hard to make the next big hit, even though they know it's a steaming pile of garbage. And sure enough, that's the type of movie this is. It's a television show disguised as a movie, and not a good TV show. Like, this would be the type of show that CBS would use on Thursday nights after The Big Bang Theory to try to make the next big comedy hit, when they know it's not a good show. That's how bad this movie is. This film is such a gigantic mess. Everyone is wasted in here. They aren't given any funny materials. Loud noises is the source of comedy in here. And I'm sorry, there's a way to make loud noises funny. And it's not with this film right here. It's not with this idea of the film whatsoever. And there was no reason to make this movie, except the fact that He's Just Not That Into You was the big success from a couple years ago. But that worked because there was actually a good idea to it. There was actually a good cast that made it work. There ain't nothing funny about this. It's just obnoxious people, loud, annoying people who just use screaming as the only source of comedy, and that's it. It's cringy. It's one of the most depressing comedies I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, this movie is an ungodly mess of a film. Avoid this one like the plague. Please, for the love of God, avoid What to Expect When You're Expecting, for God's sake. And as bad as that movie is, it's Citizen Kane compared to our next movie. And by the way, this year we had Snow White, Disney's live-action Snow White, which people continuously shit upon as one of the worst movies of the year, one of the worst Disney adaptations of all time. That is incorrect, because if you really want to see the worst Snow White movie ever made, let me present to you Exhibit A.
One of the most beloved stories of all time. Who are you?
Snow White. Snow White.
Snow White.
Is coming to life in the motion picture event of the year.
Do you want to hear it?
this spring in an enchanted kingdom where anything is possible.
I will not fight a bunch of dwarfs. You're minuscule.
Something funny is going on. Mirror, Mirror, rated PG, in theaters March 30th.
Yeah, I never want to hear anybody say the 2025 Snow White movie is the worst Snow White movie ever, because this is still the worst one ever. And a last big fuck you from Tarsem Singh, a director that I have not been a big fan of, and sure enough, he ends his lackluster career on a high note here. Well, technically he made another movie, but after this, nobody really cared about it anymore because he kept making schlocky bad movies like this. So yeah, it's Snow White. It's basically the same story of Snow White. You have a princess named Snow White, played by Lily Collins, who, truth be told, is the best thing about the movie, as is Julia Roberts, who plays the wicked stepmother in here, who uses the help of a band of 7 dwarfs as well as a prince played by Armie Hammer to reclaim her throne from the wicked stepmother, Queen Clementina. And yeah, the casting overall is fine in here. It's just everything else about this movie that's just terrible. I mean, this is a movie that has a plot that makes no sense whatsoever. It's one of the most annoying movies you will ever see. And one of the reasons why it was because its plot was so poorly done. Like, it's not that hard to take the story of Snow White and do something new with it. We're going to get to another Snow White movie later in the year with Snow White and the Huntsman, which was the far superior movie, the one that came out that year. I mean, that one actually took chances. It actually was fun. It actually was action-packed. It actually was very well done. This is terrible. This is absolute garbage, and I'll give points to the actors in here. They're doing the best they can with the material given to them, but unfortunately, it's not great material at all. And the biggest problem with the movie is that half the dialogue is nothing but lame jokes and puns. It's supposed to be a family comedy, but even the worst family comedies have better jokes than this detestable mess of a movie does. And again, Tarsem is just a bad director, man. He's a pretentious director. He's a director that makes one bad movie after another. The best thing he made was The Fall. And that's the movie that nobody went to go see. This is the guy that did The Cell, which was a pretentious piece of garbage, Immortals, which was a knockoff of 300, and this movie, which is a knockoff of a bad Disney live-action adaptation. The Disney live-action adaptations are like Citizen Kane compared to this pile of garbage. This movie is awful. This is a terrible, terrible movie. One of the year's worst movies, and sure enough, you know, this and Wrath of the Titans actually made my worst of the year list for 2012. So, hey, what a great weekend for 2 of the worst films of the year to come out.
You guys have a clean business. Now the cartels are moving north.
If you want to control a man, take what they love most.
I'm gonna get you out, I promise.
7 of my men dead?
Don't mess with these people. You stabbed a federal agent!
Savages. Rated R.
God damn, Taylor Kitsch had a terrible 2012. I mean, you know, Battleship, John Carter, and now this. And this one is easily the... Actually, I take that back. Battleship is still pretty bad, but this is a close second. This movie is very high up there with the worst movies I've seen in 2012. I hated the hell out of this movie. You have Aaron Taylor Johnson as a University of California, Berkeley graduate and a former U.S. Navy SEAL played by Taylor Kitsch, who are top weed growers. Their product is the best in the business, and Brand provides the brain and Sean the brawn as they run their operations successfully and relatively peacefully. They also share a girlfriend played by Blake Lively, and the three-way relationship works well. One day they are approached by representatives of Elena Sanchez, played by Salma Hayek, of the Baja Cartel. She wants to go into business with them. Ben and Sean do not want to be involved with the cartel, so Elena sends her henchman Lato, played by Benicio del Toro, to kidnap Ophelia. Following the kidnap, the duo work with a corrupt DEA agent, played by John Travolta, to fight back against the cartel and rescue Ophelia. And again, like with The Amazing Spider-Man, the trailers were horrible, and the film was way too much like something we've already seen done in many other movies of this type. Scarface, Bad Boys 2. But I kept my hope alive because it's Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone has more hit and misses at that point in time. He was on kind of a little bit of a low with Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, but here's his movie to really show that that was just a fluke, and, you know, he's going to get back on track with this movie. And, you know, Taylor Kitsch is not a bad actor. I mean, he just needs better film choices, but, you know, I should also say that I saw this the same day I saw The Amazing Spider-Man. I was hoping that, after watching how disappointed The Amazing Spider-Man was, I thought this was going to be the saving grace of the day. Nothing bad could go wrong with this movie. And wouldn't you know it, it was really, really bad. I absolutely hated this movie from the get-go. This is a movie that you could predict right as soon as it begins. Within 15 minutes, you knew what cliches they were going to go with. You knew who was going to get killed first. You knew who wasn't going to get killed. You knew what the big twist of the movie was going to be. I knew every single fucking thing about this movie 15 minutes in. This is a movie that's over 2 hours long. So, the fact that I already knew what was going to happen before we even got to the half-hour mark, and there's still 2 hours of film to go, oh, fuck you. Like, this movie, where do you even begin with how bad this is? First off, the love triangle makes no sense whatsoever. There's no way there could be a successful story where the girl gets two guys and the two girls don't fight over her. That's bullshit point number one. Bullshit point number two, Salma Hayek is the main villain. I'm sorry, but you can't convince me that she's the leader of a drug cartel. I mean, yeah, she could do villainous roles, but I'm sorry. This is a prime example of what happens when I say that most females cannot play villain roles very well, because this is example number one of how not to play a villain role. This movie is way too much for Salma Hayek. They miscast her big time in this. Bullshit point number three, Blake Lively's narration is so overblown, and like this movie, every single thing said has already been said in other movies. Plus, I hate that line from just because I'm telling the story doesn't mean I'm alive at the end. It's that kind of story. Well, it's just like, thank you for spoiling the movie at the very beginning, but like I said, I already figured out where you were gonna go with it 15 fucking minutes in. And the biggest problem with this movie, as I said, everything has been done before in other movies. This movie is not clever whatsoever. This movie isn't slick. This isn't trying to be anything engaging or new. No, they have all these hot young actors with a couple of seasoned vets in there, and they're hoping that that's going to be the thing that's going to push people into the seats. And sadly, that did not happen at all. This thing crashed and burned big time. And for Oliver Stone, this was really the point of no return for him, because what happened to him? I mean, he made all these great movies. Platoon, JFK, Natural Born Killers, Any Given Sunday, World Trade Center, W, and then after that, it's just kind of like, his career just came crashing down. Like, my God, what happened to you, dude? Like, I mean, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps was bad, but this is worse. This is ungodly awful. Like, the trailers at least were promising you something that you're not going to like, and sure enough, I didn't like this. This movie has nothing of value to it. The acting is so mediocre, the villains are stupid, the story is terrible, you can predict everything that's going to happen in the first 15 minutes. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. Have you got the point? Savages is fucking terrible, plain and simple.
Have you two picked a date yet?
Within the year.
Tom and Violet are perfect for each other.
Of course, the men will wear yarmulkes.
You don't have a yarmulke.
It's a Jewish rule. If only they can make it to the altar.
Look at them, they're all puffy and stupid. Come on, this is your wedding. You only get a few of these.
On April 27th.
We're all right. It's you and me. We can handle anything.
Oh, it's a fire hydrant.
From the producer of Bridesmaids.
This engagement party is a time to explore Tom's past. Jenny Newman, Greta K, Anna Pena, Lizzie Gray, this Korean, that Korean, and Lizzie Gray again. Okay, that's enough.
The 5-year engagement. Rated R.
Oh, sweet mother of God, this one was a disaster. Like, I could not believe how bad this movie really was going to be. It has a funny concept overall, and there are parts where it does work overall, but there's a lot of things that are very wrong with it that we're going to get into with this review here. But exactly 1 year after Tom Solomon, played by Jason Segel, meets Violet Barnes, played by Emily Blunt, he surprises her with a ring. By all accounts, Tom and Violet are destined for their happily ever after. However, the engaged couple just keep getting tripped up on their long way down the aisle. And like I said, I had a lot of high anticipation because of this because of Jason Segel and the director Nicholas Stoller, who made one of my favorite romantic comedies ever made, and that is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And Judd Apatow, this was back when he could do no wrong, honestly. I mean, every movie that he was involved in as a director or a producer, for the most part, was very successful and very good. And it has a great cast behind it. Chris Pratt's also in here. Alison Brie. You see David Paymer in there. Kevin Hart has a role in here. Mindy Kaling. A lot of really, really funny people in this movie. And yet, I came out of it going like, this movie is fucking awful. Like, the first half was really good. And the ending works. But it's that stuff in the second half alone that just... I'll get to that in just a second here. But everything in between those two, the things I liked about it, were just so awful and painful. And I can't believe I actually get to use this saying, because I used to hear it all the time, but, you know, from people who are just like, I did this while the movie was going on. When I was watching this for the first time, I literally was counting the ceiling tiles on on top of the theater. That's how bored and how upset I was about this fucking movie. And the theater seats, too. That was more entertaining than what was going on in that second half of the movie. And for the record, because this was back when we used to have the movie theater down just down the road from me. Not the Cinemark that I've been going to for the last 12 years now, but no, this was the old theater I went to. There was 3,400 tiles on the ceiling and 207 theater seats. Stadium seats too, so that's, you know, that was when stadium seating was becoming the norm at movie theaters. I mean, that's how bad the second act was, and it is rough. There's so many points in this movie that make no sense whatsoever. You got the subplot of Tom going all gentle bent on everybody. You know, Chris Parnell's character who likes to make inappropriate sweaters, and most of all, the awkward comedy that is on the level of a bad TV commercial. I cannot stand that stuff, and that was in this movie, and the second half alone made me hate this movie so much. And just when I couldn't think it gets any worse, they have to throw in a possible cheating for both of the main characters. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, fuck you, movie, just fuck you, because I'm so sick and tired of this in every single movie. The liar reveal, you know, the big misunderstanding and the liar reveal thing. It's just kind of like. But here, it was worse. This was the worst thing that could happen. This couple was already on the brink of breaking up at this point. So why do we gotta throw this in there? Why? Like, why do we have to be this stupid? Like, they can do it in the way better thing, like a Manor and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's a stupid plot point, and again, bad, awkward comedy. Like the whole thing with Jason Segel's character. There's a part where, you know, just scream out sriracha sauce as somebody's getting it squirted into their face. It's just like, because that's funny, right? No, it's not. Not a bit of this movie is funny in that second half. The second half of this movie is the killer in this movie. Like this thing, the first half is like it's like watching a horror movie. The first half, you know, you're coming up to this, you know, this nice looking cabin in the woods. You know, you bring your friends out, you got your beer, you're thinking you're gonna get some tail. It's amazing. It's the greatest time in the world. And then the second half of this movie comes around. And that's when the serial killer comes around and stabs you in the heart. It stabs you in the most bloody of ways. Like. That's what it feels like watching this movie. It feels like you're in a horror movie, and yeah, I wanted to love this movie. I really did. And I was hoping for something on the level of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It was a sweet movie, but it was a raunchy film at the same time. And I was so heartbroken that I didn't get that. This movie almost ruined the day I went to see this film. But luckily I saw the Pirates Bay and the Misfits later on, and it was just kind of like all was right with the world. But I couldn't believe that Segel and Stoller would do something like this, since they did Sarah Marshall. They both worked on The Muppets. These are really good movies. These are talented filmmakers. You know, Jason Segel is a terrific actor. You know, he's done so many great stuff since this movie, and before this movie and after this movie. You know, Nick Stoller's made a lot of good stuff. I really was thinking, and I think this is a movie that is clearly a fluke, because it's clear that both of these guys can make better movies. And I think this was a film that, you know, it just wasn't working, and they just said, let's just go with it and see what happens. And it was one of the biggest disappointments of the year. I think it was the biggest disappointment I saw at that point in the year, and it was a hot contender for the worst movie I saw that year. That's how bad this movie was. It's the worst thing Judd Apatow has produced since year one and Drillbit Taylor. The first half and the end were good, but that second half was just so ear-rapingly bad, I wanted to kill myself. I'm not joking. I literally was just like, there's nothing good that can come from this right now. And I'm glad I didn't have anything to sharpen myself with, because I probably would have done it in the theater, honestly. Okay, going a little too far there, but the bottom line here is that this is a terrible movie, man, that had so much promise in the beginning and in the end, but that second half, the shit they throw at you, because they're so lazy and they can't figure out that what they're doing isn't working, just, I'm getting bad memories of it already. So.
We're late, go,
This school doesn't care, I care.
Try it again.
Can't. Cody, you can do it. Come on.
I don't get it, Mom.
I can't wait. With 10,000 studies about how being poor affects education, I can tell you being poor sucks and my kid can't read. What happened? Where is she?
Excuse me.
Malia!
I punished her because she does not follow rules.
Are you insane?
Okay. I know the joke has been that our education system is completely effed, you know, teachers don't give a shit anymore, that type of stuff, but if that alone doesn't make you want to never ever want to take your kids to a school in the inner city like that, you know, that should probably, I mean, this is some of the worst writing I've ever seen for a movie like this. I mean, like, what teacher does that to somebody that doesn't pay attention? It's like doesn't want to pay. It's like can't really do anything in there. It's just like what world does this movie live in? That's just one of the many problems with this movie. But then again, it wouldn't surprise you that this comes from the same director who said that you know what we need, a Twilight version of Beauty and the Beast. Because yes, this is the same director that gave us Beastly. So take that for what you will. But two determined mothers, a car dealer and bartender played by Maggie Gyllenhaal and a teacher played by Viola Davis, look to transform their children's failing inner-city schools in Pittsburgh, which, unlike the perks of being a wallflower last week, this makes the city look even worse for hiring people like that crazy, like that psycho. But facing a powerful and entrenched bureaucracy and corruption from the teachers' union president, played by Holly Hunter, and the school's principal, played by Bill Nunn, they risk everything to make a difference in the future education and future of their children, which, again, I mean, it's not a bad idea overall. Like, it has a good message to it, and that's the worst part about this movie. This is a movie that it's a big letdown because it's trying to get a good message across in a shitty film. I mean, in this case, you know, the main argument is we want a better school system for the kids, and yeah, that's a good message overall, but what we get here is a propaganda film that just shows that these schools are all evil, the teachers are nothing but carbon cutouts of terrible people who just don't give a fuck at all, and the message that they're trying to get out here isn't thought out well at all. This movie wastes a really good cast that not just includes the three I mentioned, but Ving Rhames, Rosie Perez. I mean, where was that Rosie Perez comeback that we got at the beginning of this past decade? Where was that in this movie? And yeah, this film has such a terrible way of getting its message across and doing it in the most stereotypical way possible. It's another one of those movies that could have easily been a movie you see on 10 years ago, this would have been a made-for-TV movie of the week for ABC, CBS, NBC. Like, I mean, right now, this would be a movie that, at the time this was coming out, this would have been a Lifetime movie. Like, if it didn't have the stars that it had in this movie, this would have never made it into, this would have never left television screens. But no, because we have Maggie Gyllenhaal and Ving Rhames and Holly Hunter and Viola Davis and Rosie Perez, it's got to go to the big screen. And it's just, I mean, it's just a terrible movie. It's one of the worst movies of the year, very high up there. I think this was actually number 3 or 4 on my worst of the year list. I'd have to double check again, but yeah, this is a terrible movie. It's a movie that has a good message about how we need to fix the school system, but it's trying to get it across in a way that's been done to death before so many times and done with characters that are so detestable and so unlikable. Even the people that we're supposed to like, you really have no sympathy for them whatsoever because they put themselves in these really bad situations themselves, and it just suffers big time because of it. There's nothing good that comes from this movie whatsoever. The message gets lost in the shuffle, and it's a film that just is such an insult to people in general. Not just parents who can't afford to have their kids in the nice schools and all that. Like, everybody in this movie looks terrible. It's a really, really bad movie. Like, this is unbelievable how terrible this film was. This was a huge, huge insult to everyone involved in it. You took a good message and you completely put it around a garbage movie and thought you could save it because you got the director of Beastly, which, you know what? That was your first mistake right there, hiring that guy. But yeah, won't back down. Maybe the studio should have backed down and not made this movie altogether. That's just my thinking behind it.
Halloween. All the lamos come to school in costumes.
Watch it.
Like they have the bat signal. Aaron Riley is crazy hot. You got the invite to his party tonight, right? I noticed you and I are listed in the top 200. I think it's alphabetical. Oh my god, he's coming over.
You're coming to the party, right?
We will definitely be there.
I've been waiting for this my
It's all
whole
falling
life.
into place. Invited to Aaron Riley's party, costume figured out. As for April, I'm betting Sexy Kitty. Which just leaves my little brother, Albert! Gross. Whatever. For once, he's not my problem. Oh no, I forgot to tell you. You're gonna watch Albert tonight. No, Mom, the party! Don't do this to me! I love you, thank you, you're welcome.
Fuck you, Chelsea Handler. Yeah, that's what I'd be saying to her if she was my mother. I don't care if she would be my mother, but fuck you for putting that burden on me because you knew that I was going to this... Because you knew I'd be going to this party and you're going to throw this at the 11th hour with me? Like, no, seriously, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's not something you should say to your parents, but I'm sorry. If that was my parents and they threw that on me at the 11th hour, I would be pissed off, but... Not this movie. No. We got to do this because we need to have our own like I said, we need to have our own super bad comedy that, we can take the families to. And that's part of one of the major problems with the movie. You've got a film that stars Victoria Justice from iCarly and Victorious. And she plays this girl whose Halloween plans go awry when she's made to babysit her brother who disappears into a sea of trick-or-treaters. With her best friend, played by Jane Levy, and two nerds at her side, she needs to find her brother before her mom finds out he's missing. So, we're not only taking the concept of Avengers and babysitting, but we're also taking the concept of Sleepover and License to Drive. These adventures that take place, and Superbad, these adventures that take place over the course of one night. And this movie is atrocious. Let me tell you people something. I've only walked out of 4 movies in my lifetime. 2 of them were The Spirit and Aliens in the Attic in 2019. And I can't remember what was the other one I walked out. I don't know, because I walked out of 2 other ones, and now I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I've talked about it before on this channel. But this movie pissed me off because it was so offensively bad and just insulting. I almost walked out of the theater. This is the second movie I've almost walked out of in the last 2 years. The other one was Big Mama's Like Father Like Son, but I didn't because the movie ended before I could get out of there. This movie is awful. This is a terrible, terrible movie. You've got these talented young stars in Victoria Justice, and especially Jane Levy. Suburgatory is a show that not a lot of people really know about. It was on for only about 3 seasons, but it was really good. It was a really funny show, and nobody watched it, which is just... It's a shame, because the show really was really funny, and, I loved her on that show, but... I'll save her for just a second, because she needs to be talked about how bad she is in this film, but, Victoria Justice, she's like Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez. Yeah, they're best known for their stuff on Disney and Nickelodeon, but if you give them good film material to work with, you can get a good rising star out of it. We talked about it with Selena Gomez. Monte Carlo wasn't a great movie, but, she had good, Hotel Transylvania gave her an opportunity to actually show off her acting abilities, and it did work out in the film's favor. She was really good, and she is actually, she's one of the more memorable characters in the series. Like, I was feeling the same way about Victoria Justice. Her series had come to an end. It's time for her to branch out and prove to everybody that she can actually act. Zac Efron did that once he left High School Musical with 17 Again and Me and Orson Welles. And he's done the smart thing by branching out into indie films, and here, she's not really given a whole lot to do here. She's given a lackluster script, but, I was really hopeful that she could make that transition like Zac Efron did, and, these other actors we talked about, but sadly, she never really did. She just kind of faded out into existence, went back into mostly doing music and all that, but, yeah, it's a shame, because there was a lot of potential with her. But Jane Levy, let's get back to her for a second, because, like I said, really funny show, Suburgatory, which is basically kind of the live-action equivalent of Daria, pretty much. And I love Daria, but, like, on Suburgatory, she plays, like, this shy bookworm, but she's much smarter than most of the other people are that live in this new neighborhood that she moved into. But in here, oh my god, it's the complete opposite with her. Like, I did not feel like she fit this role at all. Like, I'm not saying that she could never be this role in a movie like this, but... like, doing it early in your career, because she was still very early on in her career, this is taking it too far, and I don't like the fact that she basically plays every stereotypical teenage best friend that we've seen in all these bad teenage movies. And, yeah, and Chelsea Handler, like I said, like, I hate this woman. I hate her, not as a person, but just as an actress and a comedian, because she is not funny. She's annoying. She's a bitch. She's never made me laugh whatsoever. Like, Rebel Wilson, at least... made me laugh a couple of times, but Chelsea Handler, I don't know what her problem is with her comedy, because it's just not funny whatsoever what she does here. And, like, in this movie, Like, she's not funny in here at all. Like, there's nothing about her that made me laugh. I don't find her funny. Like, I don't think it's a problem to say that I don't find people funny. I don't like people with that act. Like, I have my problems with Mila Jovovich, and I have my problems with Chelsea Handler as a comedian. She fucking sucks, plain and simple. And also, the film just feels like a bad ripoff of a CW show. This is a Nickelodeon movie that's trying to rip off the CW, for God's sakes. Like, it's a bad CW show expanded to 2 hours, but then again, this is the creator of Gossip Girl, Josh Schwartz, who directed this movie. So yeah, it makes sense that this feels like a bad CW project. Like, it tries way, way too hard to be raunchy and crude, too. Like, it feels miserably at it. There's literally a point in the film where the film is literally doing nothing but saying dirty words, saying naughty, saying, like, the swear word after swear word after swear word. Like a 15-year-old who's just discovered these words wrote this. Like, it's so badly done. It's the equivalent of somebody juggling a keychain in front of you, except the keychain is swear words all around. Like, it's just like... But again, the biggest problem with the film overall is that it's taking a lot from other movies. The story is a ripoff of Adventures in Babysitting. Adventures in Babysitting is much better than this pile of garbage. And that was a PG-rated movie in 1987. It was a darker film. Not darker, like, extremely. But the comedy in there was darker, but it still fit the mold of a PG-rated family film. People still remember Adventures in Babysitting. Nobody remembers this pile of garbage. And on top of that, this movie has the nerve to rip off Project X with its terrible poster. I mean, just look at these posters. Look at these posters. Like, it's every single character in this feels like carbon copies of characters we've seen in 1,000,000,006 other teenage movies. And it just offended me so much because of how lazy this was. You wasted all these young talents. You tried to be way too raunchy and crude for your own good. It feels much longer than it actually was. And it's being handled by poor direction by someone who's just stick to television. This is right up there with some of the worst movies I've seen this year. Battleship, Won't Back Down. You have to be that special to be as terrible as Battleship. I mean, that's how much I hate this movie. I hate this movie so much. It's a terrible movie. Avoid fun size like the plague. Plain and simple.
Sir, you may want to come take a look at this.
I'll never look at it.
An extinction level event.
They've created a barrier. No one can get in or out. We do have somebody inside.
We're going in.
Oh, you do it to us. Oh. Fire everything!
Oh yes, you know it's one of those really, really bad weekends where we're not even wasting our time with an intro. We're just going right into this garbage because, you know what I think of when I think of Battleship? Aliens. Well, I'm sorry, I should do the alien meme. Aliens. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films of May 18th, 2012. There's the numbers right there. This is not a very good week for movies, and I just want to get through it already, because I've kind of touched on Battleship already. If you don't know, this is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life, and I've already done an extensive video on that. If you want to go check that out, there it is in the corner. But let's talk about this abomination of a film real quickly. Based off the classic Hasbro naval combat game, Battleship is the story of international fleets of ships who come across an alien armada whilst on a naval war games exercise. An intense battle ensues over the seas, land, and air. What do the aliens, known as the Regents, want? Well, what they want to do is rip off Transformers, because that was the big shit a couple of years ago, and Universal said, we want our own Transformers too, so why don't we just go ahead and do just that. And the end result of this pile of garbage right here, like I said, I've gone to extensive length of how much I hate this movie, because I really do hate this movie so much. This movie made me so frustrated and so mad when I saw this. My entire review for this was nothing but a thank you letter to everyone involved here for completely wasting my time with this movie. Everything about this movie is so awful. You want to know how bad this movie is? The trailers put it out there, plain and simple, how bad it is. Like, you cannot... The first trailer for this had me laughing so hard. I laughed for about 20 minutes the first time I saw it, because I thought to myself, there's no way this is a real movie. I had my Jack and Jill moment when everyone thought, Jack and Jill was a fake movie because it was on South Park. No, it was a real movie. I thought this was a fake film too, but no, it was a real film. And, yeah, not only that, it had people I did really like. Taylor Kitsch, another bomb this year, but John Carter was at least trying to do something. This movie, oh my god. Peter Berg, a really good action director who was 5 for 5 up to this point with Very Bad Things, The Rundown, Friday Night Lights, The Kingdom, Hancock, and then to follow it up with this film, just wow, man! Like, how good was that paycheck that you could have resisted on that? But then again, maybe this was penance for him to doing Lone Survivor, the next movie he did, because that film turned out to be a much better movie than this pile of garbage, no question about it. It's not even that this movie rips off Transformers. No, it can't just do that. No, we gotta rip off other movies. We gotta rip off Independence Day. We gotta rip off Star Trek. We gotta rip off The Hunt for Red October. And they really thought they were gonna get away with this. The rest of the cast of this is just sleeping through this production and having nothing to do. Like, Liam Neeson and Rihanna are the only two people in this that were actually trying. Brooklyn Decker, which, by the way, for all you sick, twisted people out there, you want a Brooklyn Decker sandwich of shit? This weekend's the one to do it, because she's not only in this movie, she's in another movie later this weekend. And that sounds incredibly gross, but I know there's one sick freak out there that wants that, or wanted that back in the day, but hey, I mean, whatever. Yeah, the special effects look good, but as I've always said, they don't make the movie. A good script makes a good movie. This movie was so excruciating and so painful. This was almost as bad on the level of Sucker Punch, a movie that I had to suffer through. This movie was an abomination, a god-awful mess of a film. I hate this movie so much. I really, really do. And like I said, I've delved into this, how much I hate this movie so much, which if you want to see that, again, link in the corner, link in the description, see that video there. I got nothing else for you on this one here. Battleship is just a terrible, terrible film. Needless to say, avoid it like the plague.